Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, run it back.
Good Wednesday morning. This is Run It Back. We are in studio. We are professionals. We are doing our jobs this morning. We are here. I'm going to get to you in a second, Shams. But joining us today, 17-year NBA vet, Rudy Gay. And Lou is in the Chandler Parsons seat, which means you have to say stupid things. And like, do you feel like...
I'm graduating today.
Yeah.
It should be fun.
You have to go viral for ridiculous reasons?
For any and everything. Let's do it.
I feel good about this for you. You're going to get it done. Rudy, how are you feeling? You awake yet?
I think so.
Yeah, we're getting there.
We'll see.
Yeah, coffee will kick it soon. Shams also joining us from his palatial abode in Chicago. What's up, buddy?
What's going on? How's everything?
Well, we're about to get some news from you.
Happy to have Rudy on. Happy to have the San Antonio reunion.
I know.
Lou will in the OG seat today.
Yeah, we got Danny Green later. It's like it's a whole thing. But last night, I don't know if there was something in the air. I don't know what was going on. But we'll start with T-Wolves and Warriors. And here we go. It got quick. It got real quick. The jersey's torn, and Draymond steps in to do his best to de-escalate and bring the tempers down, obviously. Guys, what? Why? What?
Listen, I'm going to be honest. Draymond putting Rudy Gobert in a chicken wing had nothing and absolutely nothing to do with Klay Thompson and Jalen McDaniels. He got pushed under that rim and he wanted his lick back. So this is good. Hey, listen, you're Golden State. Why have soldiers if you're not going to use them? Draymond, this has always been his MO. He's always been a security for that basketball team. He's always been a mouthpiece for that basketball team. This is on brand for Draymond Green, and it was highly entertaining to watch last night.
Yeah. That was well, I think he held it too long, though. That's the only problem.
Yeah.
You know, he held that.
Nah, get your money's worth. He was going to get kicked out anyways. So get your money's worth. Put him in a nice chicken wing and just keep him right there.
You know, I mean, he's one of those three.
Listen, it's going to be $25,000 either way. Get your money's worth.
You're right. He's one of those three. He had to come in and save him, man.
Had to.
That's
what I'm saying. I don't think this had anything to do with Klay.
No.
If you look at that entire play, he got pushed, and he saw an opportunity to get his lick back, and he ran down and he did it.
Gobert called it clown behavior. We good with that?
Nah, ain't clown behavior. It's on point for Draymond, man. Fight back. That's all. Fight back.
That's all that was.
And I heard a couple theories. I heard theories last week about how Steph is doing too much, and so they want to kind of see what they are without him, and then immediately these guys get thrown out as well. So it's like nobody wants to play if Steph's not playing. But you played with Gobert, and he said after the game that Draymond got tossed on purpose because he doesn't like to play unless Steph Curry's out there. What do you think about that?
I don't remember the last time I've seen him play without the last two, but I mean, I don't know, man. They just have bad history. Remember, they went back and forth. Even when I was there, they would go back and forth about whatever it is at the time. But Draymond does it with everybody, and you know, some people in the league are just a little bit more emotional than others, man. But that had nothing to do with basketball right there, or the play that happened.
That's a stretch, Rudy. Draymond Green is a 4-time NBA champion. He ain't scared to play against anybody. That's a stretch. But, again, highly, highly entertaining.
Well, let me ask you this, because I can think of people, like if you have a person that you work with regularly, and if they call in sick that day, and you're just not motivated to do the job as well, because you're like, no, I don't like it unless this person's here. That could be something. They both got thrown out in minutes.
Yeah, but listen, it takes so much to get ready for an NBA game. It's an all-day process. Rudy can attest to this. It's an all-day process. What you eat, how you warm up, you're gonna hit the weight room, you're probably gonna go to chapel, you're gonna get straight. It's so many different things that go into play. If you're gonna play, you're gonna play. And so I think this was just circumstance, and it happened fast, and it was funny.
I would say that, you know, when, like you said, 4-time champion and playing together for so on and so forth years, there's certain people on the team, if I'm Draymond, it's like, nah, ain't nothing happening to them.
For sure.
Okay.
Klay was one of those guys. I think after the altercation happened, it was like, you know, let me get a little extra, and he did just chip me a little bit.
But he choked the guy that wasn't choking Klay.
Nah, he was looking for him. He was looking for him.
He choked the guy that had nothing to do with anything. Rudy didn't even get an opportunity to kind of de-escalate anything. Mm-hmm. If you watch Draymond, he trotted down, found his guy, and put him in a nice chicken wing.
I feel like, you know, Rudy Gobert is always in the media for like different reasons, And we have the same name. So whenever I hear Rudy, I'm like, man, I ain't had nothing to do with that. And I get mixed up in that. I'm just telling y'all out there, nobody choked me last night.
You play with Rudy Gobert. Is his reputation on point, or are we off the mark when it comes to his reputation?
Why would you ask me that?
I'm just kidding.
Because we don't understand. He's always in the middle of stuff.
Is that indicative of Rudy Gobert?
Klay Thompson
right there?
is nowhere to be found. This had nothing to do with protecting Klay Thompson whatsoever.
So
look at that.
He's just
Draymond should get that frame.
That picture is ridiculous on Rudy Gobert's
Rudy.
face.
Come on.
It is weird though, Rudy, that Gobert's in the middle of stuff all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. What's he like? I mean, is he a drama guy? Is this just sort of, it's accidental? Why is it always him?
Hey, man, I mean, I don't know. That's the question we got to ask him, man. You got to get that smut off his name, man, somehow.
It's a lot. A lot of people say it.
I don't know, man. I just hope nobody asks him to sign that picture, man. If I'm getting headlocked, before.
Oh, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's gonna happen for sure.
So we have a culture of fans. When you pull up to the hotel, there's gonna be a jerk that's gonna ask Rudy Gobert to sign that picture.
And will he sign it?
I doubt it.
Okay.
Guys rarely sign anyway.
You don't just, I was going to say, I feel like most of the time you just walk right past them. Because they're at every hotel and it's weird. Look, he was considered the peacemaker. Gobert was not punished, but the other three guys were thrown out of the game. Shams, we got to bring you in here because the league's obviously going to do something. Any idea when we can expect punishment of some sort?
Yeah, I think Rudy and Lou have been through the league process. It's going to be a bunch of interviews today. They're going to go through a thorough process. Joe Dumars is going to interview all the people involved in this. Draymond Green, Rudy Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, Klay Thompson. So all these guys are going to get interviewed. And then in the next 24 hours, likely today or early tomorrow, before the Warriors play on Thursday against OKC, there's going to be a ruling. And I think there are people, of course, around the Warriors that would expect a suspension of some sort for Draymond. The question is going to be how many. There's going to be a lot of interviews, a lot of conversations today before that decision. But those two guys on set have been through at least some processes.
Yeah, I think this is a one-gamer.
Okay, so
yeah,
got it.
This is a one-gamer. No punches were thrown.
Nah.
A really good chicken wing. But no
is a punch worse than a...
Punch is worse. If a punch was thrown, we're probably looking at two or more.
So
but I think no punches were thrown. This is a one gamer for Draymond. Everybody else, no suspension. There will be fine.
Personally, I'd rather get swung at than they're putting a chicken wing.
I feel like that's worse.
Absolutely.
It looks worse.
Yeah, go ahead and swing at me so I can put my dukes up, opposed to you having
no idea you're there.
Out of control of my body.
Nah,
man. That's a bad look, Rudy. You gotta.
See, there it goes again. It triggered me just now.
Yeah, that's weird. It's an unfortunate.
I'm gonna start saying Gobert.
Please do that.
Gobert.
Gobert. That's a bad look, bro. Come on, man.
I'm also thinking there are going to be a lot of interviews. What is there to ask? What kind of questions do they ask you? And do you answer honestly, or is it like a kid getting in trouble? Yeah, like what's this work like?
Yeah, it's gonna be a thorough investigation. I don't know how long of an investigation.
Could be 5 minutes.
But it's gonna be thorough.
It's gonna be quick.
You're gonna be on the phone with some pretty heavy hitters, determining whether you're gonna lose money or not.
Do you answer honestly, or are you so annoyed that you're sarcastic? You could tell us now.
Yeah, I'll tell you the truth. Once I realized I wasn't in real trouble, I was very sarcastic. But at first, I was terrified.
Really?
Yeah, because I was on the phone with, like, real legal representation. So it's kind of nerve-wracking, yeah.
Okay, that's kind of... I can't imagine Draymond answering any of these questions.
Listen, he has more experience than I do, so
yeah.
I'm sure Draymond is business as usual.
It's like a speed dial.
The proof is in the pudding. You saw what happened, so is there anything to really talk about?
I don't think so. I think everyone would be fine with a one-game suspension. I can't imagine anyone being opposed.
I think it's one-game suspension, just done.
At this point. By the way, there was a game. The Warriors did lose it, if you were wondering, and Minnesota continuing to do what they're doing. Again, we started the show saying something weird was in the air last night, and it also affected another game. Lakers taking on the Grizzlies. Lakers did win this one, but 5 technicals in the first quarter. So here's the Aldama Davis moment.
He's still on the ground. Come on, fellas.
It's just a little scuffle, some grabbing, some pushing.
You know what? I'm gonna change my stance.
Why? What was your stance?
Oh, no. Don't do it now.
I'm gonna change my stance. Before the show, I thought that he legitimately got pushed, and that was
Aldama got pushed.
That was a genuine reaction. After watching this particular angle, he definitely flopped.
Come on, man.
I give you that.
Come on, man.
He flopped.
Really?
He flopped. Yeah, he flopped.
Why are you saying that? Because it
I mean,
looks.
just the angle. Yeah, but listen, he flew 10 feet after that, and he. Listen, look. Watch this. Get up. Get up.
Fair.
You didn't get. He's holding his face. This is a sell job. Listen, his teammates have no urgency on getting him up off the ground.
No, I mean, Bane's doing whatever.
Look, that should tell you. Yeah, that's a fly.
He let go of all bodily,
my
all
nose.
function after he pushed him. It's like, all right, let me just go and fly to the stands real quick. Let me check my nose, make sure I sell the call.
Yeah.
And that's it. He should actually get fined, man. That looks bad.
That's right, flopping.
He should get
that's
fined.
right.
That should have been a tech. That should have been a free throw and ball out on the side.
Yeah.
By the way, the AD reaction alone, the shove. What do we make of that? Was he right in doing that? I'm not even sure why
Something was in the water last night, right? It was.
He was in the way. What do you want him to do? You know, we're men at the end of the day. He's in my way.
Something was in the water last night. AD didn't look happy. Maybe it was the courts. We're blaming everything on the courts.
Yeah,
I forgot the courts were there. They give us
The courts were there.
migraines.
We're blaming everything on the in-season tournament courts. It's a bad vibe. They're confusing. People don't want to play on them.
Well, I will say this. I mean, AD gets a bad rep, soft, not available, all of those things. So if you're a Lakers fan and you saw what you saw from him last night, I don't know, does it give you some excitement, some hope?
We birthed a new character last night.
Shoot. It's not going to last, though.
AD or Adama?
AD, that's Afro AD.
Oh, okay.
The Black Knight, Afro AD. That's a new character, Afro AD. Whenever you see the Afro out, he didn't get an opportunity to get his hair done.
Okay.
Expect some
I
violence.
like it.
A little bit more grit to him.
Afro AD.
Well, yeah, but that implies it's not going to stick around once he gets his hair done.
Who knows? Maybe every once in a while, he's just going to let his hair flow and let the pushes fly.
Flow and go.
Flow and go.
Flow and go.
Well, we'll see what happens on that one. Those were the two games that we didn't care about the game as much.
We didn't talk about any
No,
basketball.
because there was a game and things happened, and as you can see there, the Lakers took care of business easily. But this game, a lot of eyes on this one for many, many reasons. Clippers, Nuggets. You know what? Look, it came down to the end, but the Nuggets did keep the Clippers winless in the Harden era. They're now 0-6. Harden did have 21, PG 35, 7-3. Jokic, doing Jokic things. The 0-5 of it all. Are there any signs at all that you can take away thinking that there is a turn coming in the future here?
You know, the positives that I can take away from this last night, I found a group that really works for this team and that I think they'll use going forward. Terrence Mann, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, P.J. Tucker, and Russ. That five right there on the floor gave them a realistic opportunity to win that basketball game. They had a lot of defensive presence. I think there was a pecking order on the offensive end, who was going to score, who they were playing through. They were obviously playing through Paul George, and then Kawhi right after that, T-Man, P.J. Tucker and Russ, they were doing the dirty work, getting the stops that they needed. And so I thought that was a group that worked really well. So if they can take away anything, they know that they can put those five guys on the floor to finish games that's going to give them an opportunity.
That's a problem, isn't it? I
mean, they missed somebody, didn't he?
Yeah, you're kind of missing a dude.
Well, the finish. But I thought, honestly, listen, I thought James played well throughout that basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they played well as a team. They didn't get over that hump. But, again, they were playing against the Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets is a team it's not a team to be easily beaten.
Yeah, let's not
especially at home. And so, listen, they ran into a brick wall, but we can take some positives away from this game.
They were in it up till the final.
Yeah, I mean, they play against the Denver Nuggets, and let's not forget this is a team that was just starting to gel. Like they played a certain amount of games together before the trade, and they were actually starting to gel, and then you throw this on there. I don't think it's really their fault. I mean, everybody knows who James Harden is. Everybody knows who Russ and everybody. They're trying to build this team, but it takes chemistry. So I think it's too early to say anything about that. But yeah, it is one of those things where they'll kind of had the rug.
I made the
sweep from under
statement
them.
a couple shows ago that it's not just James Harden. I felt like the Clippers shouldn't have done anything.
No.
You had found a groove with the group that you had. Russell Westbrook was getting comfortable in his skin, playing under T. Lue and playing with those guys. He was giving you everything that you needed for that group to, kind of give themselves an opportunity to continue on and be one of the top teams in the West. And then you throw James Harden in that mix, and it's kind of like starting over. You know what I mean? When you add a guy like that to the mix, you got to start over everything that you put in training camp the system that you put in going into the season, all of those things have to be rewritten. And so what we're watching is a team that's basically going through the rigors of getting to know each other, getting to know how they're going to play and what groups work, And so it's early. We're about a week and a half into this.
Feels like
Seems
an
like, oh my
eternity.
God.
Feels like an eternity.
I mean, to go back to it, I feel like this was their year with the team they had
Oh,
previous.
man, that hurts.
You know what I'm saying? This was their year. And they kind of, stunted their growth by adding another star caliber player who needs that attention also. So, like I said, they were just working through some things that had happened. They had injuries, haven't had the whole team, and everybody's healthy, and then, bam.
Look, we're making adjustments for them while we're sitting here, right? We're watching games and we're saying, well, now we see that this is going to work. We see what that's going to work. They get paid millions and millions of dollars to do the same thing. And so I see this team making adjustments to start having some success.
Well, Harden, you mentioned the whole sort of they're starting over kind of thing. Harden said, I didn't have a training camp or preseason, so I'm kind of learning on the fly. I mean, first of all, whose fault is that?
Well,
but secondly, is it that simple? Like, he is the system, right? That's what he told us. Shouldn't this just plug in then?
No, Michelle, this takes time.
Okay.
And we're not plugging in a role player. We're plugging in a former MVP. We're plugging in a guy who's usually 1A, 1B on the teams that he's played on. There's going to be an adjustment period. And mind you, he's going to a team that has 3 guys that have been 1A and 1B. And so they're working through a lot of adversity right now. I would like to see this team get a win and start rolling so we can stop talking about them.
Please, man, please.
Seriously.
Do whatever you
Although,
gotta do, man.
for what we do, this is actually, it's great.
It works.
Keep going. Don't win a game ever. Shams.
Unless we have another fight.
Actually, yeah, we can have a fight. Oh,
Then we
fight
can
and
talk
a
about the
loss.
fight.
I know, we started with 2 fights. Shams,
Right.
look, you're the Clippers right now. Put yourself in their shoes. What would you do?
I think you just have to rip the Band-Aid off. You're going right now with Russell Westbrook, James Harden in your starting lineup. You clearly are trying to figure out how to allow both those guys to split ball handling duties. They want to start both, but I think you have to decide who do you want your main ball handler to be, to start games, to finish games. You brought in James Harden. They brought in James Harden to ultimately, after 10, 15 games, they wanted to see how this would go, but he was supposed to be their main ball handler. They wanted a point guard for the last several years. They wanted a guy like James Harden. They gave up 2 first-round picks for him, second-round picks for him. They gave up a lot to go get James Harden. He's on a $35 million deal. Russell Westbrook is on a, $4 million deal. So in terms of how much they gave up to get him, how much the salaries are, they're invested. There's a lot more equity in James Harden, seeing him succeed. And yeah, I think James Harden is playing better. He's getting stronger. You can see he's getting some rhythm. But listen, the proof is also in the numbers. The splits between Russell Westbrook when he's on the court versus James Harden being on the court. So this is going to be a tough decision for Ty Lue. I think one thing, I'm curious Lue and Rudy's perspective on is if they do continue to try to make it work with these two, how much will this team suffer?
I think it's going to be tough, man. Listen, at this point, somebody has to come off the bench. That's obvious. Even if you start all of those guys, I say you go into a system where you work on early subs. Maybe you start all 4 of those guys and you get one of them out of there 3-4 minutes into the game to kind of caddy corner the minutes to give you a balance of who's going to run the second group and who's going to run those first groups going into the second quarter. Who's going to lead that second group going into the halftime. And so I think you go into a system like that. You don't play the 4 guys with so many minutes at one point. You get somebody out of there early. When I was playing, when I was on that basketball team, PG was usually the first guy to be subbed. He would usually come out at the 7-8 minute mark. Kawhi would play longer stretches of minutes, and then top of the second quarter, PG would come in and play on the second group with myself and T-Man and all of those guys. And so I could see them kind of going into something like that. Start all 4 of these guys. If you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, somebody has to be subbed quick, though. You can't play these guys 6-7 minute stretches at a time.
Why are you guys so sensitive? Men are so sensitive. Who cares if you start? It's how you finish. That's what we keep asking. That's what I keep hearing.
Well, honestly, it's the bottom line. Your minutes, your production, all of that reflects in your salary. And so I think.
But I saw, on the Lakers side, because the other day, Austin Reeves came off the bench, and then Darvin Ham made a point to sort of tell the media, look, we had a whole conversation. His minutes have not changed at all.
James Harden.
So it's all ego and resume at this point.
He's not Russell Westbrook.
No.
We're talking about guys who've championed organizations, put organizations on their backs, put teams on their backs, have been the best players in the entire league. We're not talking about a guy that's maybe going to be the second or third option on a basketball team. And so the scenarios are different. The expectation levels are different.
Yeah.
I don't envy Ty Lue at all in this one. Shams, scoop time from you. And I kind of love where we're going. Last week you reported that we could possibly see the Big Three in Phoenix finally all together. What do you have for us?
Tonight they will finally debut. Devin Booker is cleared to play tonight. He's missed the last 5 games with a calf injury. He's dealt with a lot. He's had ankle, he's had foot, he's had toe. Then he had the calf strain. But now he is cleared to go tonight. And that means Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, their big three is finally going to be in the lineup tonight against the Timberwolves, who are going to be on a back-to-back after beating the Warriors last night. But for the Suns, this finally can start the process. They're 4-6. This can finally begin. They want to see how this team looks with those three on the court. They had a game in Detroit during preseason when those 3 guys played. You saw how well, how dynamic, and how lethal that offense can be. We haven't seen it yet this year, obviously, but this is going to be our first look tonight. And this is a Suns team that wants to use the next 10 to 12 games to really see what they have in this build. And Brad Beal, he's been dealing with a back issue. He's been playing through it. He's been getting treatment around the clock. And so just his status, Book status, and Kevin Durant has been the healthiest of all of them, but he's had a big responsibility. So all 3 guys in the lineup for the first time tonight.
Why does it feel like this superstar lineup won't be an issue? Just seems like an easy. I mean, granted, it's only 3 versus 4 and 5, but
Because we hadn't seen them yet.
so we don't know.
Right.
Do you foresee anything? Any drama? Any lower expectations?
It's going to be hard to call. I'm excited to watch this game tonight. I'm excited to see how these guys operate together on the court. You have 3 ball-dominant guys, 3 scoring guys. It's going to be tough to call before we see them play. You don't know until you know. And so I think one of the advantages that this team has had, they've been able to watch the Clippers and their struggle. They've been able to sit at home and see, hey, we can't go down this road. We have to sacrifice. We got to figure this thing out. And I think you also have different personalities on that group. You know, I think you have a Bradley Beal who's played next to a John Wall who kind of understands. D Book and Kevin, they've had some time spent together already. And so I think the scenarios are slightly different, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. I think you have a Kevin Durant who's already, had his MVPs, has his championships. You have a Devin Booker who's hungry. KD already said this is Devin's team. And I think you have a Bradley you have a Bradley Beal that is ready to win. Was stuck in Washington for a couple of years. I think it's a totally different situation. With the Clippers, you have guys that are trying to prove themselves again or rebuild their image or whatever it is on the court. But this team, I think, they have other issues other than those 3 guys. I think you need to figure out who's going to be the playmaker, who's going to do this. And I think the game has changed. You can score enough points nowadays, but, they have other issues other than, just that. I mean, this is one of those teams that whoever has it that day can just go, and I think they all understand that. So
it's a nice luxury to have. The news out of Chicago, it's not fun. This is not fun to watch. Nobody likes it. And the Zach LaVine moving rumors are starting pretty early this time around, Shams. What do you have for that?
Michelle, teams have started to discuss deals with the Bulls, have started to probe on Zach LaVine, his availability. I'm told, finally, for the first time, there's openness on both sides, from LaVine's perspective, the Bulls' perspective, on trying to find a deal. And teams that are expected to have a level of interest, the Lakers, the Sixers, and the Heat, from what I'm told. So there's going to be teams that are going to inquire. This is a guy that's in the second season of a 5-year, $215 million deal. So this is a massive contract for whatever team wants to take him on. But they're 4-7 right now. They play tonight against Orlando at home. But this is a team that has struggled the last 2 years. They've tried to figure out ways to make it work with DeMar DeRozan, with Zach LaVine, with Nikola Vucevic. The struggle for them has been not having a point guard. Lonzo Ball, when he was in the lineup, they were fighting for the number 1 seed a couple of 2 years ago. Now they're a team that's fighting for the play-in. And so there's uncertainty around LaVine. There's uncertainty around DeRozan. He's in the expiring year of his deal as well. So there's likely going to be, whether it's LaVine, whether it's DeRozan, I think teams around the league expect at least one guy to be moved before the deadline in February.
Man, I'm old enough to remember when that logo meant something. And here we are. Okay, guys, Rudy, I'm going to start with you. Which team needs him the most?
You will put me on the spot.
Of course I'm going to put you on the spot.
We talked about this before, right? Lou, you trying to? Okay.
I mean, you mentioned the Lakers, the Heat, and the Sixers.
Yeah.
Do any of those 3 stand out?
Okay, so I'm looking from a different perspective. Like if
Take your player hat off, man.
Okay. No.
Speak freely, man.
I'm
Take
talking
your player
friends.
hat
This is a
off.
guy we both know and love, DeMar, right?
Do your thing.
If I'm him, I'm thinking about which team they did.
What we talking about, Zach?
Okay. We talking
Yeah.
about Zach?
Yeah,
We don't care
Am
about
I-
Zach.
am I
We'll just
speaking-
put him anywhere.
Am I speaking for him or where he wants to go or where
Like,
he
where
should
would
go?
you? Where would
Where
he
would
be
you
best?
like? Where would you like to
So
see
my
it?
GM hat you want me to put on?
Yeah, put your GM hat on.
I say Philly.
GM Rudy.
Really?
I
Good for him.
I say Philly because I think you can plug both of them in. You have a big man who can protect a lot of the mess ups because we don't know Zach as a defender. Not saying he can't, but he whatever.
I like Zach with the Sixers, but also we gotta stick to our guns, right? That team has found good quality. That's throwing me off a little
Somebody's
bit.
got to
but-
wake up.
Yeah, somebody-
But that's. But I like him with the Sixers. But that team has found a groove, and
Right.
so very much like the Clippers. Do you want to disrupt that by bringing in another guy? And so for me, my opinion would be, I like him with the Lakers. He gives them that third marquee guy that can champion the group when AD takes those long stretches where he's on the bench, when LeBron is not going to play and he's taking those stretches, he's on the bench. You put him out there with Austin Reeves, put him out there with D'Lo. You give yourself a great opportunity to have a good balance of guys that can kind of really get that team over the hump. And so I like him with the Lakers.
I mean, I think all of these teams pretty much got it figured out, though. I mean, they might not have the record to reflect it right now, but they all pretty much know who they are. You know what I'm saying? So, like, whether the Sixers, we all these teams, I feel as though will be playing late in the postseason.
They'll be going. They'll all be better situations.
They'll all be better situations so than where he's at. So, I mean, like, for me, I think the best fit would be the Sixers. I think, obviously, he has to understand that his role is probably going to diminish a little bit if he wants to win. But, I mean, we've been through it and we've seen this. Is he ready to do less? Is that the reason why they're not the way they are now? So, it's a lot that comes with that. And, when trades happen, you got to do a lot of self-reflection.
It's necessary at this point, man. Listen, especially if he and the front office are talking about trade opportunities and trying to get him somewhere where he fits, it's time to break it up. I think you sell everything and start over.
Players only meeting after the first game. I think the writing was on the wall for this. Just blow up the whole thing. Everybody get a fresh start.
Not Chicago, man.
It bums me out. It's not right. It should be amazing every year. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, a San Antonio reunion. It really makes the heart warm up. Danny Green joins the show.
Danny!
Shirt on early in the morning.
Run it back, yeah. Run it up, run it back, run it up.
All I do is win. Every time that I begin, they gon' see it when I come through.
Danny Green for three.
Bang! Looking at a champ.
That's right, three-time champ, 15-year vet, Danny Green joins us today. Good morning, sir. This is a nice reunion.
Good morning.
Look at this.
Hey, we out here.
Warm and cuddly.
Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate you guys having me.
I love this. We are actually starting with a little bit of news from the night. It's the worst part of the basketball that was played last night. But you know what? There was a headlock. And when there's a headlock from behind, you have to talk about it. The Draymond Rudy Gobert moment. What did you think when you saw it? And how long is he getting suspended for?
You're asking my thoughts?
Yeah, I want to know. Because I feel like players have a different perspective of this moment.
Yeah, I mean, RJ had a funny take last night saying Draymond was the peacemaker, jokingly. But I think my reaction was the same as everybody else's watching the two. It was absolutely obnoxious. It was kind of crazy. Rudy is not a guy that's trying to get in there and fight. He's kind of like trying to de-escalate the situation and break it up. Draymond comes in with a flying headlock.
Look at Dre.
I don't know what the suspension will be, but I think they're going to try to make an example. And hopefully it's not too many games, man, because I'd rather see him on the floor than off the floor, and they need him more than,
I mean, this shot
they don't.
is
But this is crazy. This is crazy.
Hall of Fame.
That's frameable.
Picture, right?
That is
It's rough.
frameable. That's going in the game room.
Oh man, the other
Rudy,
topic.
he's just getting choked out. What did I do?
It's embarrassing. It's just such a bad moment. Like it's caught forever, and it's never going away. Rudy Gobert's got a few of those. We'll never forget COVID. The Harden trade, but like that's the other thing we talk about a lot, and that affected you as well because after the trade,
Yes.
you were waived by the Sixers. Do you know that's coming? How do you hear about that?
I actually got the call in the middle of the night by Daryl, but I think the way things were going, I could kind of see there was going to be a change. First game I came in, I was in the top 7 rotation, playing decent amount of minutes. Second game, very little minutes in the third game. I was, rested, but I think they kind of knew some movement was going to happen. And so Daryl, he, respectfully called me first before it leaked out. I guess the trade got leaked, but nobody knew who it was for. And he called me. My agent was still sleeping. It was like 2:30 in the morning, and I was unpacking my things as I just moved into my new place just a few days beforehand. So, yeah, I found out about it through a phone call by Daryl Morey.
No.
Danny, they always say it's business as usual when these type of things
sure.
happen, and if you stick around long enough, you're gonna have your fair share of experiences. How hard is it for you to not take these things personally and keep moving?
Now I'm used to it. So at this point, as a young kid, as a young hooper, when you're in your first, 5 to 7 years, you get attached to a city, you get attached to an organization. When you get older, the business. You see so many guys come and go. I've been fortunate and very blessed to be a part of this league and this association for 14 years. This would have been year 15 for me. You guys have had long careers as well, and we take it for granted. I think this summer it kind of, I wouldn't say opened my eyes, but I appreciate it a lot more. When the phone's not ringing as much, and hopefully said we get opportunity, me and Rudy as well, because I know Lou, I think you're done. You said you were hanging it up to get another
you look good,
chance
man. Like you still go out
to slide.
there and get a bucket.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah,
I look young.
I'm sure Lou.
Danny, I ain't broke a sweat in months, brother. I'm done now.
Okay. You're still in shape, though. You're still in shape. So hopefully, things change. We get an opportunity to get back in there and show that what we can do and, keep doing this thing for a couple more years. But, I'm extremely blessed. I'm very fortunate. And I said my last couple of years, I know it's part of the business. I don't take it personally at all. And I'm used to it at this point.
Yeah, I didn't see any posters or anything calling Daryl Morey a liar, so I wasn't sure how your feelings were on the whole thing.
I understand, Daryl.
Do you have, look, I get that it's business is business, but everyone's human at the end of the day. How do you not feel animosity?
I said I try to stay looking at the positives. I'm a glass half full type of guy. I got an opportunity. I got a chance to play. I'm healthy. But I said I understand Daryl. I try to look at things from every perspective, every angle. Obviously, human nature is to look at what you're not getting and how somebody did you wrong. But also, so for me, I look at the opportunity, the chance he gave me, and the fact that, maybe I have a chance to circle back and play with Philly again. So we'll see. The book, the story is not over. The chapter isn't done. But yeah, I understand how his mind operates and how he's built the rapport and relationship with me over the years. But I know how GMs work. If you understand that, you can't take it personally. You know how business is, how numbers are, how the taxes and how, owners are, and people are trying to save money. So you can't take it personally when it comes down to those things.
This kind of goes for all of you guys, by the way. When you leave a team, you get traded from a team or you're waived, whatever it might be. Do you root against that team at all? Is there a period of time? Because, I will say that when I leave a network, I hope it fails miserably as soon as I leave. I'll just be honest.
I think it's the same for all of us. I think unless you feel like
you're real political, Danny.
I thought you was going to
I'm
go
not
political.
afraid. I'm doing this long enough to not
Thank
hurt. I'm okay with hurting some people's feelings. But I will say this. I'm not rooting against Philly right now. I'm still watching those guys. I root for my friends on the team that I left.
Right.
I still want to see them do well. The team itself, you don't want to see do well. And unless you leave on a really good note. Toronto, I left on a really good note. LA, I left on a pretty good note. But still, you watch how they're playing. You don't hope they do so great that you're gone. But with Philly, I said I'm still rooting for them because I think there's an opportunity for me to end up back there, hopefully in the near future.
Okay, so that's why. That's okay.
Smart.
Smart man. Obviously, we played together. You know, 3-time NBA champion. Obviously.
I've been lucky, man. I've been fortunate.
Shout out to my man Danny doing, big things in this league. You know what I'm saying?
Trying to get like you, Rudy.
Okay. So, I know what you can bring to a team. What kind of situation you looking for? Obviously, being later in your career, a lot of things are out of the.
For sure. I think we all, me, you, Lou, when we got older in our years, we were looking for obviously a place where we can make an impact, a place where we can help and be a important piece of the puzzle of making a championship run. But you want to be on a contender, of course. You want to look for a situation that a team has a chance, at least a playoff team, because you want to be playing in the later months of the season and playing for something meaningful. So I think most of the older guys in their careers have made their money, have gotten their contracts. You just want to win and you want to have an impact, and not just off the court, but on the court. And that doesn't mean you have to play 30 minutes, but if you can get an impactful, 15 to 25 minutes, 20 minutes would be great. And be able to also coach and be a part of something special is something that most older guys are looking for.
Just to add to that, man, going through shoot-arounds and practices, just to get your ass whooped, that's not something we look forward to, you know what I mean? Because shoot-arounds get hard, man. Man.
They just get annoying.
Depending on the coach.
They just get annoying. Yeah. You're doing shoot-arounds for that many years, man. You're just like, man, this is pointless. We don't need to be up for this. We can go watch this through film. For us, we can watch and learn through film. The younger guys actually need to walk through it. So yeah, we get annoyed by shoot-arounds for sure.
So that's a no for a San Antonio reunion, and that's what I'm saying. Is that a no?
It's not. No, it's not a no. I'm open to all reunions, honestly. At this point, I think it would be great for me to have a San Antonio reunion before I leave out, but you never know where it's going to take you.
Look, you had a front row seat to some of the James Harden drama. From the outside, for those of us who are just sort of watching, we think, oh my God, it must be so dramatic in there. What is it like? But when you're there, what does that feel like? Is it nothing?
I laugh because I also went through the Ben Simmons situation, and compared to that, this was nowhere near dramatic.
Oh, wow.
And there was a lot more going on, media attention, a lot more tension, a lot more hostility, a lot more of drama going in the behind the scenes and in front of the cameras as well, and in the media. So James, he was the ultimate professional, man. He did his job. He worked on himself. That's one thing about James. He's going to make sure his body is ready. He's going to make sure he's in shape. Even though he may not be playing, he was doing reps in practice. He was doing walkthroughs. He may not have been in the scrimmages. He did in one scrimmage. He played very well, and I was on his team, and he's part of the reason why I kind of made the team. I played well on his team, made me look good. But he did his job. He didn't distract the team. He didn't try to do things in the media. He came in and helped the young guys, worked out with Tyrese, and said the other situation with Ben was a little different. So this one was not distraction at all, and it wasn't bad in any form.
The Sixers seem to be thriving. I mean, I'm not saying it's because of him not being there, but maybe it is. What do you think? Is it sort of an addition by subtraction for them?
I think because they had the same group together for the last couple of years, their same foundation. And also Nick Nurse, he's a breath of fresh air. He's implementing some different things. Joel is playing very well. Tyrese has got, the ball in his hands a little more. Tobias is able to get more opportunity and more shots. I think they're meshing well. And they had those three guys here for a couple of years with some other guys you can plug in that have some familiarity with them and with Nick. Like myself, I had a good familiarity, but with those guys, they're just ahead of, in this part of the season, the teams that are winning are the teams that have more chemistry and more familiarity. Like the other teams are still trying to figure out. So they just have the advantage because they're ahead of schedule with teams of knowing each other better. So, and those guys are playing well. MVP caliber numbers, all-star obviously numbers for Tyrese and Joel. But Tobias has been very efficient. And you got Kelly Oubre, who's been out the last couple of games because he got hit by a car. But before that, he was averaging 20. D'Anthony Melton, last night he had 30. So they have a lot of guys that can be very impactful in many different ways on that team.
On the flip side of that, the Clippers are 0-5 since the trade, since adding.
You knew it was coming.
He's waiting for it.
He's former Laker. He couldn't wait. Former Laker. He can't wait for that. But it's not working right now. Does that surprise you?
No. I know you guys. I heard you guys speaking about it earlier. You're saying it's too early to tell. It is early, but it's not too early to tell. I think any basketball head knew that this was not a great working situation. And any average fan on the outside looking in knew that this was going to be hard to fix or hard to put together because you have four superstar ego guys and four superstar guys on the court that can play very well. And that doesn't mesh too well. And they all kind of play the similar positions. And I may sound biased, but you need role players, man. You need role players on that team. You need role players to make things mesh. When you have four guys like that playing at the same time, and you said split up the minutes, eventually they're going to have to share the court for a bulk of the minutes in the game. So it's going to be hard where those guys need the ball and need a rhythm. It's harder for Kawhi to get a rhythm. It's harder for PG to rhythm when James has the ball, when Russ has the ball. When they're all splitting time with the basketball. There's only one basketball. it's harder for those guys to get rhythm. And on the defensive end, those guys haven't been the lead of the charge of the defensive end of the floor in some years. They've had other guys like a PJ Tucker or Pat Bev to be able to lead the charge and orchestrate and quarterback the defense. Now it's like, all right, we can't get a rhythm on offense, and defensively, we together have to find ways to get everybody to be on the same page and play defense. It's just a tough situation that I think most people knew was not going to work smoothly. And it's going to take a lot of time for it if it ever does.
The great debate around here has been Russell Westbrook or James Harden coming off the bench. Do you think James should be a starter on this team, or should he be the guy that's going to come off?
I agree with you. One of them has to sit. I think because Russ has done it before, it's going to be easier for him to do it. I think
James is a former sixth man of the year.
Yeah, that was his rookie year. That was like his first 2 years in the league. That was 10 years ago. So for him, it's going to be tough, especially, I'm not saying he has a big ego, but he definitely has a top 75. They're all top 75 players. But for him having to come off the bench, I think you may lose him. So I think it had to be Russ to do it. So mentally, you want the guys to be locked in and him to be in rhythm. And he's still a great player. He averaged 22 and 11 last year. And he's very capable. And last night he had a pretty good game efficiently. It's just tough with splitting time with the basketball in your hands with 3 other guys and not be able to play point guard the way he normally has in Philly. So yeah, I think it has to be the guy that's mentally ready and has done it before, which said Russ was there last year coming off the bench.
All right, you've got 3 rings: Spurs, Raptors, Lakers. Be honest. You know it's coming. Why do you love the Spurs ring so much more than the other 2? Truly.
I can't say I love them so much more. I know you're a big Spurs fan.
Come on, Danny.
I think because it's your first one. It's like your firstborn.
Oh, yeah.
Not saying that there's favorites in the family, but you're always going to have a special feeling for that first one. And I do enjoy my Toronto ring very much so. I love the city of Toronto and Canada. They show so much love. I do love LA, and I love that ring. But that was a bubble ring. We didn't get a chance to have a parade, so it's not as special as the others. It was the toughest one mentally.
Thank you for saying that, Danny.
Great, let's just get to the bubble.
Thank you for saying that, Danny.
Listen, heat with the bubble situation.
Here we go.
DG, listen, I recently went viral.
Yes, you did.
I know.
And I got a lot of flack from the Laker faithful because I said pre-bubble, I felt like the Clippers, we had the best opportunity to win that championship. We were rolling. We were starting to get our groove going, and then the bubble hit. And you guys were able to pull it off. And I also mentioned, I said, listen, a lot of people aren't going to respect this ring because it's new territory. We don't know what the bubble is. A lot of people didn't know what we went through in that bubble. I think only one team had a positive experience, and that was you guys, because it was only one thing. It was only one thing to leave the bubble with, and you guys left with it. Besides that, I felt like everybody else had a shitty experience. What was your experience like?
Even though we won, it was still a tough experience, mentally, physically too. But it was a tough experience emotionally. It wasn't easy. It only made it worth it because we won, and I agree with you to that extent. I know you guys went through it rough, and a lot of people can go back, and it was tough. You have to be fully committed as a group. And if your group is not fully committed, and so you had guys, I think some people had some passings in the family, and some guys had to leave the bubble a couple of different times, or injuries, or came into the bubble late. So I already know it. So we saw it happening. It was only a matter of time because we knew you guys weren't fully in it. But, so for everybody, I think it was a very, heavy emotional and mental experience to be in a space, even though it was a nice experience. They made it as best they could. They gave us some of the best food they could possibly give us. But being in there for 100 days.
They gave us the best food they could possibly give us, was what he said. They gave us the best that they could possibly
Even if they give you the best steak, to have the same steak for 100 days, you're going to get tired of it. It doesn't matter what the food is.
But I completely agree with Danny, though. You in order for you to be successful in that environment, you have to be fully committed. And that was the only point that I was making. We weren't fully committed. I never made excuses for how it went. None of that. We just weren't. It was a struggle to get us there to begin with. So going into it with that, go ahead.
It was us and Miami. Miami wasn't a top seed again. That's why they made it to the finals. They were fully committed. You could tell Jimmy had his coffee, didn't shave his face or cut his hair for the whole 3 months that he was in there. And that's why they made it to the finals, even not being a top seed. It was us and Miami that were fully committed once we decided to go in. And I won't take credit from other teams, but it was tough. I knew we saw Clippers, we saw you guys kind of in and out, double dutching the bubble, trying to like find a way to commit, and it just wasn't there for you guys.
First of all, we're all waiting on the Lou Will doc about the bubble.
agree.
It's going to be Oscar winning.
Listen, Danny, I've
I
always
can't
said
wait.
somebody needs to make a documentary about it. It
needs to
has
be
so
you.
many elements that people couldn't fathom. Like
You're
you
right
wake
here.
up and LeBron is riding around on a bike. And it's just like
Surreal.
Jimmy's
You
making
need to
coffee,
tap in.
Kawhi's
20
making
bucks.
tacos. It was so many different aspects to the bubble that
You
people
need to tap in
didn't.
with the guys that made the videos. I think JaVale McGee was doing like a YouTube channel. He got a lot of good footage.
That's
So I
amazing.
thought he would have done it at one point, but you got to tap in with the guys that actually videoed kind of daily and journal daily what they did. Because I said, I'm looking forward to this documentary because, I was waiting for somebody to actually bring it to the forefront and actually talk about everybody's kind of experience of what was going on in there. And I thought somebody would have done it already, but I'm glad you're doing it.
Oh, I
Not,
need
not
this
to
to happen.
not to be dramatic, but there was a lot of trauma and a lot of different experiences that a lot of guys in our positions never went through. I genuinely think guys just don't want to talk about it.
I agree, man, and you're not being dramatic. It was, I think, for the world, a traumatic experience with COVID shut down. Nobody thought that would happen.
Right.
But for us as athletes, we're so spoiled. We're used to being traveling charter and getting, first class experience. And we still got first class experience in there. It was a different environment. And I said, people were experiencing things differently. And I've spoke about this once before, not many times, but when I was in the bubble toward the end of it, I started getting vertigo and I didn't know what the hell it was. But I could see a lot of people kind of going through that mentally. And it was so weird when you're getting out of it.
You feel like you upside down.
I didn't know what it was
like
either,
you're
but
dizzy
when you
your
feel like you're
equilibrium.
drunk, basically.
Yeah.
Your
dizzy all the
equilibrium's off. So
It's,
you
you
wake
can
up
throw
and I try
up.
to.
You can do a lot. It's bad.
Really?
Yeah, it's not a fun thing.
I didn't
to
have
do.
it bad. Luckily, I had it very light, but I put my sock on, and next thing I just fell over. I'm like, what? I was just dizzy. It's like kind of like being drunk, Rudy. Like,
But not fun drunk.
But not fun. But it's worse for some people. I didn't have a heavy dose of it. It was very small, but I could tell, like, damn, I need to get out of this bubble. And when you finally get home, it's just an awkward air. You're like, oh, I can breathe again. You
It's
haven't
like y'all
driven a
did
car in
time,
3
and then you
months.
come back out to the outside world. It's so weird.
We had a term. It was rich guy jail.
Nah. Yeah.
For sure. So when you get home, you're not used to driving car. It was weird. I didn't know how to drive a car.
We had
Seeing
I
sightseeing. We're on a
drove back
bus
to
looking
Atlanta.
outside the window. I'm like, oh,
Did
shit,
you?
there's
No,
trees.
listen.
Like, seeing different trees.
I drove back to Atlanta
'Cause you
in
couldn't
my
wait?
Sprinter, and I really was having an out-of-body experience. I was like, wow, cows, wow, cars, wow, people.
That's how we were. We were on the
pulled
bus
up
looking
to
out
a
the window.
gas
Like,
station.
we had a
It's
saying too, like when our games was a yard. That's
I
when we
mean,
get out.
Yeah, like, so
That's when we got off. That was our time.
It
to
makes
get out.
sense.
I've become
the
the
yard.
poster boy of the bubble.
Yeah, you have.
But
You're the bubble
again,
guy.
I've had so many different experiences, and I know a lot of guys really went through a lot in that bubble. And again, it was only one thing you could leave with, and that was the championship. And so
The only
nobody
thing-
else had a positive experience besides the Lakers because they left with a ring, and it made it worthwhile. Other than that, everybody else left with a bunch of bad memories.
Wait, I got to ask you, Danny, because I have Lakers fans that are friends, and every time they'd be like, oh, we just won a championship, I'm like, it's the bubble. And so I mock them.
I'll get criticized for saying that.
Well, yeah, but you played. I'm just me. Do your friends, does anybody give you a hard time about that?
No. I think they know what I was going through mentally, emotionally, and physically in that bubble.
Right.
And I think Lou is just new to the panel space. When you're new to the panel space, I think, Michelle, you're used to getting the slack from people on
Yeah, we
Twitter and
don't care.
Instagram. It's a different type of heat when you're playing, and it's a different type of heat when you're speaking on people. And you say something about somebody's favorite player, and they're on your head on Twitter. Like, damn, what's going on? Like, it's just new to us for getting heat. Michelle's gotten heat for it before too, but none of my friends have given me any slack for it. They understood what I was going through, and they appreciate it. And, some people look at it differently, but a championship, 20 years from now, people are not going to remember, as a bubble. The Lakers won a championship 2017. That's all they're going to remember. And that was what's important to us. And I said, I'll take it, man. I'm
Counts.
Yeah, we would have took it.
Yeah, it counts for me.
The real ring.
It counts.
Danny, this has been awesome. We appreciate the time so much. We hope to see you out on a court
Thank you.
sometime soon. And best of luck
Good
always.
luck, bro.
Good luck, my boy.
Appreciate you, fellas. Thanks, man. It was a pleasure, real pleasure. Thank you, guys.
The run it back, run it up, the run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up.
I'm going to bother you forever to make this documentary of the dark side of the bubble. Like, get on it,
Doing
get
it.
funding, let's go. Rudy, you're not retired, so what's the deal?
I don't know. I'm in shape. I've been working out, so just waiting for the right opportunity. I'm not retired at all, but I'm here.
Are there any wrong opportunities?
I don't know. I don't want to say anything now. Danny came on there and said he's open to anything.
He
So
did.
what I look like. So I can't really speak candidly anymore.
Well, if you were Chandler, you would list off all the cities that you would refuse to live in ever again. So you got that going for you.
I've lived in some bad cities, so it's all good.
Chandler is a small market heckler.
He just hates Memphis.
And OKC.
And OKC.
He
Utah.
hates Memphis?
Yeah, it's his least favorite one.
Come on, man.
Memphis is his least favorite.
Yeah, it's
man.
look, we get him in trouble when he's not even here. I think that's like sign
Come
of a
on,
good
Chandler.
teammate.
Come on, man.
Yeah, so you would be open and willing.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like what Danny said. I mean, I think we're in the same kind of predicament. Like, you know, obviously, you know, getting up and
No shoot
going to
around.
shoot arounds and doing all that
No
stuff.
shoot
It
around.
has to mean something at the end of the year.
That's fair.
You know?
Well, that's it for our Wednesday. We'll be back tomorrow. Run it back. Have a good one.
The run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up, the run it back, run it up, run it back.